Far too often, LGBTQ plus business owners believe they have to choose between authenticity and being successful. Through these real-life stories, LGBTQ plus listeners aspiring for success can gain valuable insights to navigate their path to being both queer and successful. Hello, everyone. It is me, Hunter J. McNair, your hostess with the mostest, back again for this week's episode of Queer and Successful. Now, this week on our successful call, I had my good Judy Hudson Warren join us. Hudson is a business coach who really has a strong focus on mindset. And so this week, I had him join us to talk about changing your mindset so that you can change your world. As always, you all can listen to these calls and participate in these calls live by registering for the call at successfulcall.com. So without further ado, listen in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our successful call this week. This week, I am joined with my good Judy, my good pal, Hudson Warren. How are you,
Hello,
Hudson?
friend. I'm wonderful. I'm happy to be here.
You're one of my favorite people, which I think you already know that. But yeah, you already know. And this week, you and I are discussing a topic that I know is super near and dear to your heart and really should be top of mind for all of us, right? Which is mindset.
Yeah,
How are you feeling today about mindset?
I'm always positive about mindset.
That's the way to do it, right?
I mean, what else would I do?
Well, people don't understand, right? Like that the vast majority of what we do really is mindset, right? Like 90% of it.
I mean, it's just so foundational. And then I really do understand how easy it is to get lost in but I have all these things. I do understand it. But if we want to live a big, beautiful life that we actually enjoy and not feel like we're stuck in the proverbial rat race, like we have to focus on mindset. The difference between any one of us and whoever we deem more successful than us, or maybe whoever, whatever life we would really prefer to be living at the moment. I mean, it literally all comes down to mindset. We think it's skill, and while skill is a factor, it's like it's nothing compared to the impact of mindset.
It's wild you said that because I was actually interviewing a possible agent to join in my team today, and they said something along the lines of like, "Oh, I'm kind of tired of comparing myself to others, right? And like getting down in the dumps because I see other people doing so well." And I'm like, "Dude, you sold 10 million by yourself last year, 3 years in the business. Like that's not bad." Like, it's fascinating how sometimes we can let comparison also get us really down and be the thief of our success. And it really just plays into his mindset around it, right?
Right.
Well, I've heard me say a lot, winners focus on winning and losers focus on winners, right?
A
So
hundred percent.
now I know you've described yourself as a growth thinker. Can you share to everyone a pivotal moment in your life that sparked your journey towards both personal development and mindset transformation?
I mean, yeah, honestly, it was like it was like hitting a rock bottom for me, which is why I would love for more people to figure it out without doing that. For me, I mean, it's over 10 years ago now. It was about 11 years ago, and I found myself in a position where I had uprooted my life and moved across the country. I had done so for a relationship that had turned out to not be very healthy. I had personally bankrupted myself and put myself in a ton of debt. I mean, it was like basically everything was going wrong in my world. And on top of that, I had gone like 10 months without any income. And it was either, okay, well, I'm just going to sit in this and wallow and let my life be nothing, or I could fight my way out. And luckily I fought my way out. I mean, for me, it was putting myself in a growth environment. If you know me on this call, you know I am a bold coach for MAPS coaching with Keller Williams, and I put myself in bold for the first time. And I don't know that I did it. I don't know that I did it for the right reason. I did it because literally I was like, well, I don't want to go look for a job, so I guess I'll do this and see if this will get me doing something. And what ended up happening though is I had put myself in a growth minded environment. And while there's so many other pieces that came in that were tactical, just being in that right environment and being surrounded by people who were focused on what they could do rather than what they couldn't do, and focused on how they could win rather than everything they'd already lost. I mean, it changed my focus, and that kind of spiraled into the life I get to live today.
Well, and it's wild because they really say like you are the summary of the five people you surround yourself with, right? And
Yeah.
there's so much to that. Like it's not just like how you act with friends. It's really like your mindset, your health, your hobbies, your activities, how you show up for yourself truly depends on who you're surrounding yourself with. So it is fascinating that, that course Bold has done that for you. It continues to do that today, and you're still training that concept. Are you doing right now? Where are you at now?
I am in Philadelphia. Well, I'm not right now, but my bold is in Philadelphia. And then I am launching next month in Miami, Fort Myers, and in the suburbs of Houston, Texas.
So you would attest Bold to being the pivotal moment that truly changed the way you looked at things.
Yes, I mean there's a lot more to it, but like we're talking literal moment, I mean yes, it was that. It was being put in a different environment that I had never experienced before at a time where I think really I felt that I had nothing left to lose, so it was a little easier to go all in on something new, because I was already in a heart like what was going to go wrong? I couldn't go any lower. I mean, that's kind of where my mindset was, which of course is not a great mindset, and there's silver lining in all things, I believe, and so it allowed me the space to just go for something different, and it changed everything.
Now, for those who don't have Bold every day, right? Like, what are your suggestions for people to be like, where do I show up? Where do I need to show up? What do I need to do? Who do I need to surround myself with? Like, what are your suggestions there?
So, I mean, I think I have a few of them. I think, first of all, any forward movement is great, right? So like I can't be the only person on this Zoom that tends to, if left to my natural devices, think in extremes. So it's like we sit there and we're like our life is not where we want it and we think we need to fix it in 3 days. And that's not how it works. We need to take small steps consistently. So what would you do? Well, you mentioned something earlier, and I forget the exact words that you said, and yet it was the importance of taking care of yourself. Um, I believe that most of the things that we are taught or conditioned to label as selfish are actually the most selfless things we can do. I think that the smartest people and the people who will have the best lives are the people who actually put themselves first. And that doesn't mean to disregard others. It doesn't mean to walk away from responsibilities or priorities. And yet you can't be a good spouse or partner or parent or child or business partner or a leader of a client or anything like that if you are not taking care of yourself. So I think the first thing to do is to look at when is the last time that you did something for yourself, and again, give yourself give yourself the gift of scale. It doesn't mean that you all need to go out and book a spa day tomorrow. Like that's not all that this is. Not that that's wrong. It is simply what are the words that you're saying to yourself? When's the last time you just took 5 minutes of silence to think and get out of the busyness?
No,
Little
that's
things
very
like
scary.
that.
It's very scary. We don't do that.
Well, you have to allow the voices in your head to speak up every once in a while, or else they start to scream. So
Sure.
yeah, so taking care of yourself, I think, is a big thing, and then really just paying attention to your environment. We love as human beings to say, I don't know, like, but we do know. We know probably what the root of whatever negative forces are in our life is, and if we would just take 10 seconds to think about it and then choose to do something about it, life gets beautiful. And if you're spending time with people and or situations that are bringing a negative influence into your life, that awareness allows you to do something about it. And it's not always cutting somebody out. That's not always the answer. Sometimes it's somebody who actually thinks they're helping you is hurting you.
Mm.
And you simply just need to have a loving and connective conversation with them and share, like, hey, I know you're looking to protect me, but this is actually really dragging me down. And could we maybe go in a different direction with your support? Because I love your support. Or maybe you have somebody in your world who does not have your best interest at heart. And, if you're watching this Zoom, my assumption is you're probably a grown adult of some sort. Like, you, no, nobody deserves to be in your world in perpetuity.
Mm.
You have gifts and you have talents and you're a valuable human, and access to you is a right. It is not a right, actually. It's a privilege.
Mm.
So if you have somebody in your life, and if it's somebody really close, I understand how harsh this might sound, but like, if they don't intend you positivity, if they intend you harm, every minute after that awareness that you stay in that environment, it becomes a choice and no longer your situation.
I
So
I
you've
love
got to
that.
inspect that.
I mean, you're basically you're basically firing people in your world, or I'm going in a different direction, quote unquote, right? Which is
Well, it really is. And there's varying scales, right? Like, think about it. Maybe there's somebody that you hang out with really casually and yet regularly. And all you really need to do is stop putting effort into the relationship. It's not like you have to have some dramatic breakup. It's not high school. It's okay. Like, maybe it's just you distance yourself a little bit. Um, or maybe it's more severe than that. But either way, it just we can't put ourselves in situations that don't allow us to be our best selves, because then we can't affect other people in a positive manner.
mm. And there's that new bold law, right? Everything. What do you remember the circle or cage? I just posted it. What is it?
Well, yeah, it's the people that you surround yourself with either create a circle or a cage.
What does
And
it mean to you? Yeah.
you need to find yourself a circle.
Hmm.
We all hear, I think we've heard the term find your tribe so much that it almost, maybe we start to roll our eyes at it. But the reality is, if getting into that bold environment that first time was my pivotal moment. And yet, if I look at, like, if I open it up to just like, why am I where I'm at today? It's people. It's not me. I mean, yeah, it's somewhat me. I mean, mindset over anything. I don't, and I really do mean this. I don't know that I'm particularly overly skilled or educated. I do have a good mindset. I do pay attention to my environment, and the people that I spend time with has changed over the years.
You know what
And
I
it's a
find?
beautiful thing.
You know what I find, and you touched on this earlier, and I kind of want to go back to it. I find that a lot of people know this already, but they're unwilling to have the conversation with themselves about it, right? Either with the people they're surrounding themselves
Yeah.
with, or like, I know what I want, but there's just this like, they know it, but they're not able to connect the reality to it. You know what I mean? So
Well, it's because it's scary.
it is scary, right? So like how do you suggest people do that? Is it surrounding I mean, what do we do? Like you're like, I know I need to face this, but a lot of the times people get deer in the headlights, right?
They do. I think we don't do enough of I don't think we do a good enough job of asking ourselves questions.
Mm,
We can make jokes. We made jokes about the voices in our head earlier, right? The reality is, though, like, we all talk to ourselves. We do it constantly, whether we do it out loud or just in our head. And yet we tend to speak to ourselves rather than question ourselves. And look, just like if you're in any sales type career, which I know a lot of the people on here are, we all know we don't tell, we ask. Like, granted, we might do a lot of telling, but we know that the value in your sales career is to ask great questions, and you get better connections and results when you do that. Well, it's no different with the relationship with yourself. And what I'm getting at here is that at some point we just have to ask ourselves, okay, so we have this person or situation in our life that is not bringing us what we desire, and yet change is scary. Confrontation can be scary, and yet we have to ask ourselves, do we choose to still be here 5 years from now? Do we choose to still be here 10 years from now? What will that do for us? What will our life look like? And I think for most people, if we can actually be open enough to answer that question, it should be enough to get us into some sort of action. And look, again, you're not going to be perfect overnight. Maybe there's something or someone in your world that you're not ready to cut out, and yet maybe you can just start limiting access, or maybe you can start choosing which words or actions you absorb. It's we don't need to be perfect overnight.
Right.
Like we can just take steps forward.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about moving the needle just an inch a day, right?
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to other habits for helping your mindset, right? We've heard the phrase win the morning, win the day, right? Everyone
Yes.
loves the morning, which by the way, I'm still very upset that the clocks went forward an hour because I felt so productive. This is my little tangent of the day. I felt so productive getting up at like 6:30 and now I'm like 7:30 and it's like awful. I digress. What are those morning routines, those morning habits, or those daily things that you think that if you're not doing this, you need to do this today to get your mindset together?
Yeah, I love that. Well, the first thing before I even list the things I want to share to anybody that heard that and went, ugh, I'm not a morning person. First of all, that's an affirmation and it's not true. Second of all, nobody's saying, like, well, actually, some people do say this. I'm going to say differently. When you start your day is not overly relevant. What has been proven scientifically is that you are most effective in the first 6 hours of your day. So when you hear win the morning, win the day, I don't want you to automatically assume that, oh God, I got to get up at 5 a.m. or else like nobody's saying that. Well, people are saying that, and I believe they're wrong. So you can tell them. When you get up and start your day, as long as you do it with purpose, is up to you. It's about what you put into those first 6 hours because most of us put garbage into it. Okay. And the idea is that you spend time for your spiritual energy, and that's whatever that is. It could be religious, it could not be religious, it could just be time with yourself, spending time contributing to your spiritual energy, which we all have. Making sure that you do something for your health. Now, I'm not telling you you need to go join a gym or like something for your health. For some of you, that might be going to the gym. For some of you, it might be just going for a walk. It might be making the correct choices at breakfast. Like you might not eat perfectly, and yet if you ate clean at breakfast, it wouldn't matter as much if you didn't in your other meals because at least you started off right. You're moving in the right direction. You want to make sure that you have some sort of really tangible physical connection, if possible, to someone or something that brings you joy. So if you have the gift of living with, a spouse, friends, children, whatever, and just literally like hugging or kissing, like literal human connection. And if you're someone who lives at home or lives alone, I should say, I mean, maybe it's with a pet, maybe it is reaching out to someone that you love over text and just checking in. The idea is that there's got to be some sort of human connection before the humans outside your circle come on and people all over you,
What do you do?
right? What do I do?
Yeah.
Well, I have a house full of people and animals, so it's really not that hard to go find somebody to hug or kiss. Like there's
Yeah.
a husband, there's 6 kids, there's cats, there's dogs, there's a parrot if I'm in a pinch.
I'm
Like so
still
it's
waiting
really
for
not
good
that
stuff.
difficult.
I'm still waiting
Like,
for
well, you can keep waiting. You can keep waiting. Thank you so much. So it's that. And then it's making sure that whatever we all have things every day in our personal and professional world that we could do, and we all have things that we should do. And it is making sure that you prioritize the should do's during those 6 hours. Like once you've done all of the personal type of things, the health related things, like that type of stuff, you need to get into the most effective pieces of your work or whatever journey that you're on and not the minutia because most of us spend our days very busy because we're addicted to this feeling of wanting to achieve, and yet the busy work achieves us nothing other than like that gold star that's good for nothing. So you've got to make sure you get the really good stuff done in those first 6 hours. And then if you want to do a bunch of other stuff that doesn't make you money or bring you joy later, you do you. I don't care. Go sleep the rest of the day. If you're really productive in those first 6 hours, what you do in the rest of your time will almost not matter. And fun fact, if you're really productive in those 6 hours and purposeful, you'll probably be in such a great place mentally that you'll continue to make good choices.
Yeah, because you're setting yourself up for the rest of the day. You're lining up your life, really. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say that like I have very short work hours, because I feel like I just knock everything out in the morning and people are always like, how do you do all these things? And I'm like, because I knock it out by like 10.
Yeah.
You know what I
No,
mean?
I mean, same. You know, I tell people all the time because I get the same question a lot. I mean, I have like four jobs essentially on top of my familial obligations and all that. And I tell people I don't work more than 40 hours a week. I just don't do it. I refuse to do it. And the way that I'm able to do it is that I ask myself questions before I make decisions. Does this bring me income? Does this bring me wealth? Does this bring me joy? If I can't answer yes to any of those things, then I just don't do it. Like there's a lot of we fill our days with I don't want to sugarcoat it, so I'm going to say what I really want to say. We fill our days with garbage
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, we want to be like, I was really busy. I got a lot done today. I crossed a lot of stuff off my checklist, but that leads to a checklist life. And I don't think any of you are sitting on this Zoom right now because you want like a checklist life where you just go through the motions and do the things. I think you want to do more. And we got to change the way that we behave in order to do that.
These are all successful people. That's why they're here. And they want more. And I think that you alluded to this earlier, and I kind of want to go into it. What people get bogged down with is the fact that they have lives, right? They have family
Yeah.
or pets, or they have things happen, and there's all this chaos that life throws at us. And sometimes it becomes difficult to have a resilient mindset. How do you navigate those types of challenges and maintain that positive outlook when you have all these different diverse aspects of your life that are constantly going?
So there's a few things there. I think first of all, we have to stop jumping to everything being an emergency. I think that's the first thing. Like we have to. Another thing that I think a lot of humans are, I'll say, addicted to is like drama. And I think we need to be okay with whatever our first reaction is to something, and then beyond that, though, we need to like cool our jets and actually think before we take action. And so like for me specifically, it's important because again, I have multiple roles. There's always something going wrong. I mean, my mindset's great. My life's not perfect. There's always something going wrong. I have six kids. There's somebody's always sick. Somebody's always in trouble. Somebody has always got to go to a like, I get it. And again, like, okay, is this emergency? Is it not? Okay, cool. It's not an emergency. I'll deal with it later. It is an emergency. Okay, I'll deal with it now. And in those moments, you need to give yourself grace.
Mm.
Like, friends, especially if you are an entrepreneur, which I realize the bulk of the people in your group are, right? If you're an entrepreneur, I mean, like, you're going to have to give yourself grace while also not allowing yourself to be a doormat. Because here's another thing that I see very often. When you don't have a traditional structured job, you are the person that everybody comes to for, hey, can you cover me here? Hey, I need a babysitter. Hey, I need a ride to the airport. Hey, I need that. Like, because they don't think you have a real job. And every time you give into that, like you're just feeding into the way that they think of what you do, which is fine. It just, again, it's gonna disrupt the results that you're looking for. So that's another kind of when you think about like all the things that come up, like, do you really need to be everybody's savior or do you need to take care of yourself first? I mean,
I,
I believe in taking care of myself first. I care about the people in my life too much to not do that.
well, you said it. Give yourself grace and don't be a doormat.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty powerful, right? It's like give yourself more grace and don't let people walk all over you. Have a very clear direction on what you're trying to do or what you are doing, what you're looking to achieve. And like you said, like I think that, just because there's smoke doesn't mean there's fire you got to put out, right? It's like you have to be able to figure out how to balance priorities. That's life.
Yeah.
I mean, truly.
Well, it is. And your number one priority is whatever it is. When you allow other people to change that, you're going to get very mixed results because we're talking about like life interruptions coming in, but the truth is the same thing happens with business interruptions. You know, the bulk of this group I know is real estate agents, and I know it's not everybody, but even if you're in a different field, I know you have things that have to happen every day in order to grow your business. And the challenge is we have something go wrong with a current deal or some situation, and we stop what we're doing and we jump on it like crazy. Well, you said if just because there's smoke doesn't mean there's fire. Guys, if you would just stop jumping on every challenge that happens in your business, most of the problems would get worked out without you. Like we're so bad about actually making problems worse. And I know it's not our intent, by the way. So I know that. I'm not questioning your intent. But when we jump on these things so quickly, not only do we pull ourselves out of being in productive mode, we also half the time make the problem worse. Let people sit for a minute. Let people calm down. Let other professionals who are involved in your world step in and handle things so that you don't have to be the savior of everything and everyone. Like it's okay.
You know what it is? I think we get attached to the outcome.
So attached and it's poison.
hmm We get
It,
so attached to that outcome, and we think we have to be the savior of everything, right?
yeah.
And my team knows, like I'm totally type A at the same time. So I'm like, you have free reign on this, except you don't, because I'm gonna come in and inspect every bit of it, right? How do you find the balance? Like you're a business owner, you have to balance out running a business, making sure clients are doing well, right? At the same time, keeping your mindset free and clear. So how do you go about not being so attached to the outcome? I mean, there's a very cliche answer to that I would give, but what would you say?
So, okay, so I'm going to come at it from a different direction because we have to start where we are. And so you may be in a place in your business because what I want to say is, well, part of it is leverage, but the reality is you may be in a place where you don't have leverage. Now we go back to the purpose of this Zoom. It's mindset. You need to choose to believe that you do not need to jump on everything the minute that you find out about it. Or frankly, you don't even need to find out about it because you don't need to check your email every 32 seconds. Okay. You need to make that choice knowing that in the very short term, it might cause you some challenges. If you're not willing to accept those challenges and make that choice at a like a foundational level, then you're never going to get to a point where you could be able to use leverage. Because when you sit there and you're worried about the outcome of every single deal or every single lead or every single event or every single sale at your store or whatever it is that you do, if you're only attached to that outcome, then you are only paying attention to that outcome, which means you are missing all of the other opportunities that are out there.
hmm
And so you have to make a decision at the beginning. Like it is a mindset shift. I do not have to jump on this. I am not a firefighter. I do not have to put out these fires. They're not on fire in the first place. It just is. And in the real estate world, especially, I have to remind people that as awesome as you are, you don't have near the influence or power that you think you do. Like the deal's going to close or it isn't. You are not in charge of all of the aspects. So you can't give all your energy to that one deal when you have two other deals you could have created that would have negated the fact that this deal fell apart.
Right. I
We
mean,
have to be careful.
it's a thing even on my team, right? Where like my sales agent will have a conversation. Something might be, might not be able to convert a client or might not be able to get someone under contract. And I have to say, hey, don't let this keep you from doing these other things because if you let it consume you, it will keep you from actually moving. It will literally make you
Yeah,
addicted to headlights, getting so attached to it, getting so
yeah,
hung up on like one thing. And I think that I would say like I'm so doing all the things all the time because I've truly been able to let go of that. Like I've been truly able to be,
yeah.
I don't have to control it all. I don't get email notifications on my phone.
Ooh,
I have them off. Like I don't get a
check
notification.
you out.
I think it's weird that you do. Like I really need an email every 5 minutes from Crate and Barrel. No. Like I don't need to get spam emails all the time. So just, sometimes it's little things like that like I think we have to have a conversation with ourselves on like what is the thing that I could let go of today that would allow me to not be so attached to those smoke piles, right?
Yeah.
Those things that are happening that would allow me to just let go a little bit more. And I don't think that's something that like you or I could even say that we're perfect at, right? I think
No.
I think it's the clarity and the self-awareness of that that at least will get you moving, right? Like you said, that conversation with.
Well, well, it's a journey, and it's so funny. So like if I look at my phone screen, does it show that I have emails? Yes. But for almost a decade now, my phone does not ring. I mean, I would probably have a heart attack if my phone rang. I'd be like, what the hell happened? The ringer is not on. It doesn't vibrate, not for anything, for nothing. I don't have like now, granted, some of you know me and you're like, well, I've called you before and you've answered the first time. Well, okay, well, I'm with my phone. I'm looking at it. So I said, oh, okay, I tolerate them. I'll answer. Like, like, just
I
kidding. But
tolerate
like
that.
I absolutely like I refuse to be completely attached to technology.
And I
Like
want to
I
touch that.
decide when I work.
Well, and I want to touch on that because there is a lot of opinion about people who don't answer their phones or like don't necessarily like
Yeah.
answer every single phone call that they get as a business owner. And what you're telling me and what I'm hearing is truly it is also you making a decision to protect your mindset around your time and your space because your time is valuable and what you allow to take up space in your brain, even if it's a phone call from a random number, matters.
Yeah. Well, so here's my point, right? Like we have to make room for what we actually want if we'd like to have what we actually want. And I'm not here to tell you how to build your own business. Like that's your call. For me, I run a referral-based business. And frankly, that is how my sales business works. That's how my coaching business works. Like my world is based off repeat and referral. That's what I choose to live in. So honestly, I don't care if I miss a call from a random number. If that person would really like to get a hold of me, they'll either leave a voicemail or they'll text me and I'll get back to them. I'm not somebody who doesn't get back to people. Or if they are the type of consumer that thinks, oh, well, gosh, they didn't answer their phone. They should have answered their phone. Guess what? I have no interest in working with somebody with that attitude.
I know.
What some other crazy person can have them. And the truth is, like in our industry, the majority of people that I find that complain about agents that don't answer their phones are other agents, not consumers that make us money.
Yeah.
I have had boundaries in my business for many, many years. I have held business hours. I have stopped working weekends, and I've never lost anyone over it. And in fact, I've had so many people compliment me and say, wow, that's actually pretty awesome that you do that. And then I still deliver good service. And guess what? It works fine.
What's the
So
phrase?
if
They
you
hate
want
us
the
because they
randoms,
ain't
go
us.
for the randoms. What
They
was
hate
that?
us. They hate us because they ain't us. That's the.
Well, yeah, I mean, and guess what? Like
Yeah.
it's totally cool. Like if you want to work with randoms, like that's a valid business model. It's just not mine. And so because it's not mine, I don't answer randoms. I don't no stranger danger here. I'm good.
Now, obviously, everything we're saying are things that we've learned over the years and ways that we've maintained our positive mindset as we've been doing this. Myself for 10 years and you for how many years now?
19.
19? Oh my goodness. Okay, well, that's a number. Um,
It's a number. Woof.
moving forward, right? Like, because here's something I think is important, right? I think it's important that we maintain our growth mindset,
Yeah.
not just a positive mindset. So, how are you making sure that you're staying up with your personal development, right? Like, do you create a growth plan for yourself every year?
100%.
What does it look like?
One So my growth plan is there's a lot of books, there's podcasts, there's always a number of interviews on there. And I don't mean like where I'm interviewed, like who is living parts of their life that I want to replicate because I have no interest in getting creative. So I would rather go find them, find out what they did, what worked, what didn't, save my time and go recreate something. There's usually events on there. Some of them are more geared towards business growth. Some of them are geared towards more personal growth. I personally believe, I don't know that it always fits on everybody's description of a growth plan. I put travel on mine because honestly, I believe that when you get out of your own environment and your own routine, um, it's usually for me, I mean, I don't know if anybody else, like it's kind of where I do my best thinking. It's where I get good ideas. It's where I have kind of time to breathe and decompress. And so those are some of the things that I put on there. But yeah, I mean, if you don't put your growth into some sort of plan, if you don't prioritize it, then at least for me, what I find is I just move through the motions. And 1 year later, I look back and I'm the same person. And I don't want to change who I am fundamentally. I'm happy with that, but I also don't want to be the same year after year. Like if I'm not growing, I'm dying. And I don't have any interest in that at this point. 19 years and all, but I'm a little young for the death. So I'm looking to grow.
Well, and I bring it up because I think that like people see other successful people and they assume that growing your mind is done, right? They just assume like,
Mm-mm.
oh, like they're there and they don't take any opportunity to continue to grow who they are, what they're learning. They attend events, but what they don't see is underneath that iceberg is a lot of intentionality,
Yeah.
right? And it's that intentionality of that, like, I'm just going to read a book or listen to a book every month. I'm going to join Queer and Successful, the call, right? To listen in and learn from amazing people like Hudson, right? It's these small.
Solid product placement, my friend. Way to go.
I saw the little smile you made when I said it. It's those intentional things that like what people don't realize is like that true Atomic Habits, one of my favorite books. I've brought it up a few times, does that 1% better, just striving to be 1% better every day. Now, you coach a lot of people, right, on a
Yeah.
personal basis now. So you're
Hmm.
coaching mindset on a one-on-one.
Yeah.
Who's your worst client? No, I'm kidding. No. So you're coaching people on an individual level right now, right?
Yeah.
What's like the number one trend that you see when it comes to mindset that people struggle with? Like what's the one thing you're seeing people.
Oh, oh, friend, it has already come up on this call multiple times, I believe, at least once. It is comparison. We look at other people on social media, we look at who's winning awards in the office, we look at what car somebody drove up in, we look at all of this stuff and it's poison. And here's the funny thing, like that we sh I don't think it's horrible to look at what other people are doing. I think it can be great for ideas and it can be great for inspiration. But if we don't have the right mindset, then all we see is, oh crap, I suck. I
Mhm.
didn't do that last month. I didn't do that last year. That's not how I didn't lose that weight. I didn't like, and all of a sudden, all you're doing is beating yourself up and telling yourself you're some kind of loser. And it's on you. It's not on anything else. It's not coming from them. Like,
Yeah.
and you don't know what their life is. I mean, I
Right.
know
That's the
we all know
thing.
this, but we fall into the trap, right? We all know it, but we don't remind ourselves enough. And we're over here idolizing, Joe Schmo. And the truth is, Joe is miserable. You,
Yeah.
you don't want that, but you're not looking at the whole picture.
Well, it's that selective looking, if you may,
Yeah.
like selectively
Yeah.
looking at what they want to look at because it fits the easy narrative, right? It's easy for us
Yeah.
to be victims in a moment and say, I'm going to focus on this aspect and not
I'm
the
glad
it's
that this
great.
one Joe loves his
I
life.
know
That's
I saw
perfect.
that. Well, this Joe loves his life. I saw
You're
this.
not Schmo, though.
You're not a Joe Schmo. You're a Joe Green. So, I always, especially recently, right? Like I've been saying, like, it's okay to look at the dark, but don't stare at it too.
Okay, RuPaul.
You know?
It
Um,
is so
it's true though.
It is so true. Well, and just in that same vein, comparison is not super healthy unless you use it in healthy ways. Like if you're looking to do something, go find someone in your world that's doing it, but don't sit there and be like, "Oh, they're so lucky they have it," or "I'm so like." No, go ask them what they did.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, we
use
talked
it as
about
inspiration.
Well, with Julia, like we talked about collaboration, right?
Yeah.
Like we talked about like, well, you see someone doing what you want to do, why don't you just go walk up to them? And I think that we didn't touch on was something that the concept of leadership loneliness, right? So like these people who are
Oh,
yeah, these people who are doing big things, like they actually kind of want you to talk to them because they're kind of doing all these things alone anyway. And it's a situation when you are doing these types of things that you're kind of alone also. So they want to help people. And don't look at competition as competition as much as looking at it as collaboration. So
oh, 100%.
what are
Your
you
only
saying?
competition is you.
Right. What are you saying to those clients, right? Who are like, comparison is a thief of joy, winners focus on winning. Like, what are you saying to
Well,
them?
so I mean, if I'm being honest, it depends on the relationship. If it's somebody I've been coaching for a while, it's usually a verbal smack. I mean, like, because they know better, and because rather than waste time explaining it to them, sometimes we just need somebody who cares enough to remind us, hey, you're going the wrong way. Flip it
Yeah.
around. Like, you're good. Like, sometimes it's also pointing out some of the good. We tend to be very self-deprecating. So if I have someone I'm coaching, or frankly someone I care about, who is sharing their shortcomings based off comparison, then I'm going to go through and start pointing out some of the things they've done. I have like a really interesting example so that I'll share real quick. So I have an agent that I've coached for probably about 4 years now. And last year she had probably her worst year, maybe not ever, but her worst year in quite a long time, because she's probably 12 years in the business. And she started to get down on herself over it. But she had that year on purpose. Like, her last child was going off to college. Her priority is her family, which is great, and I'm in full support of. And she told me she was only going to kind of cruise control it and take what came. She was in a financial place to be able to do that, where it wasn't going to like ruin her life. And when she started to get down on herself towards the end of the year, I was like, woman, you created this. I co-signed it too. Like, it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
you made a choice to do it this way. Be happy with your choice. And let's not do it this year, because now your daughter is gone and you have time to focus. And so it's like, I think sometimes we forget even why we're doing things. Like, that thing that you're jealous of with somebody, is it even on your list? Is
Right.
it what you wanted to do? Like, why are we even worried about it unless they did the exact thing we want to do? And if they did the exact thing we want to do, why aren't we just saying, hey, I really look up to you. I love that you just did XYZ. I'm looking to do XYZ. Would you be willing to meet? I'd love to take you to lunch. Like, would you tell me what you did? I'd love to hear more about it. And I promise the answer is going to be yes, 95% of the time, if not more.
Truly. Unless they don't like you, then they'll say no. But
Yeah,
anyway,
but even then,
anyway,
guess what? You probably knew that before you would have talked to them.
correct, correct. And in that case, that's not someone you'd want in your world anyway.
Yeah, that's their problem, not yours.
Right. And you and I have talked a lot about having not necessarily a great year, but having a great career, right?
Yeah.
I've added to that, by the way. And I always say that I know now I've added that time is a man-made thing and men are not that bright. So why are we holding on to time as a construct here? So
Put that on a t-shirt.
put that on a t-shirt. Well, leading into kind of like where we're going really right now, and I don't want to get into politics or anything like that. And the world is changing, right?
Go is.
The world is changing. Conversations are harder. A lot. A lot of people feel frozen. Some people feel like we've gone back. What are some of the things that we should really be doing specifically now,
Yeah.
right? Specifically now to make sure that that we're not staring at the darkness too long.
Yeah. Well, stop staring at the darkness so long. Like, there, it is one thing to be informed at a level that allows you to function in society. And it is another thing to shove toothpicks in your eyelids and stare all day at the news. It's poisoning you. And if you believe, I have to be really, really political myself. Yet if you believe that the world's not going in a great direction, then go do something about it. And your complaining doesn't really fix anything. It just gets other people riled up. It makes your anxiety worse. Where can you go give back to someone or something that aligns with what you would like the world to look like? I really do believe that when we allow ourselves to spend too much time following the news, even before the last few months, it's like poison because the news is built to be negative. That's what sells. So you're literally, even if it's negativity you agree with, you're watching negativity, it's negative stories. So you got to be careful with where you absorb information. And I think another thing is to really be mindful of your social media. I also have been fascinated lately, and I've made the choice to unfollow a lot of people. Some of them unfriend, most of them really unfollow. I'm like, I know you're not awful. I can't see it right now.
Yeah.
I don't want a lot. Social media is a big part of my business and of my life. I want to be able to be there and not raise my blood pressure. So I choose to be careful with that. I choose to curate the content that I see. It only takes one extra second to click the three dots, friends. Like it's just not that difficult. But yeah, don't sit alone in your home angry. It's not helping anybody. It's not helping your cause. And as bad as things may be, and as bad as things may get, I, I choose to believe that we'll get through it and we'll be better. And while you may think that we won't, that belief doesn't serve you. So
Mhm.
I think we have to make a conscious choice to believe that we can get through it, we can be better, we can change what we can. We can't focus on what we can't change. Like none of us has a time machine. So we have to find a way to exist in this without letting it us paralyze ourselves or hit pause on our lives. So I think we really have to be mindful with what we're absorbing.
And
It's hard. I'm finding it hard. Trust me. I'm
yeah,
having to put myself in check. Like again, who are the and again, I don't think five is really that important, but like who are the people that you give your time and your attention to? Like I'm having to tell people that I trust at a high level, like, hey, that darkness is getting real attractive. I'm staring a bit. Help me snap out of it. Like, don't be afraid to go to somebody for help.
yeah.
You have to be careful who you ask for help too.
It's so true. It's so easy to here's the thing is I always come about this like because I'm a fighter, like I'm a person who's like I'm a doer and
Yeah,
I'm the person who sees problem and I want to be the person who fixes it. That's just who I am. And I don't expect other people to lead that charge when we're saying this though. Like I don't
right.
think that what we're saying is if you're, I don't want it to come off that what we're saying is like you see a problem. If you're going to complain about it, go fix it. What we're saying is there is a problem. We understand said problem, but we also understand that said problem wants you to do what you're doing, which is to be frozen in time and stand still and do nothing. And
Yeah.
you owe yourself more than that, right? You owe yourself the movement. And so I just don't want anyone to feel frozen in time, if you may, by what's
Well,
happening.
yeah, and kind of like when I say do something about it, I don't even necessarily mean like I nobody on here is required to go save the world or save their community. You do need to save yourself
Period.
because I don't believe that anyone else is going to do that for you, nor should they have to.
Right.
So if you can just, when I say do something about it, that might be just as simple as stop paying attention to it. Like do something for yourself so that you can get back to a life that you enjoy and feels on some level for you normal.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's your own journey. That is
100%. Yeah, that's what you have to define it.
yeah.
But you can't sit there in fear and you can't sit there in negativity. It literally, you can. It just is, it's the, it's like drinking poison. It literally does nothing for you. So when you catch yourself there, you don't need to feel bad about it, but find a way, have a way that you can get out of it. Have that person, two people, three people that you really, really trust who will help you get out of it. Have a pattern interrupt that you go to. Get up and go for a walk. Put on a playlist that brings you joy. Go watch reruns of some show that's gonna like. You have to find something to interrupt, break the chain, and move towards a more positive direction.
I love that. Well, we're going to start moving into any questions in Q&A now, but is there one last thing that you would tell everyone to start today to start changing their thinking?
Oh God. Okay, so I would say probably the most pivotal thing you could do is pay attention to the words that you say to yourself. And when you catch yourself going negative, because the reality is that even the most positive people say things to themselves that if a friend did, they'd never talk to the friend again. So we need to start catching that behavior because, yeah, do you need to change your circle? Sure. Are you going to do that if all you tell yourself is that you're not worthy? No. So I think you really need to start paying attention to when you start going negative on yourself and anything you can do to reframe it. And whether that's using affirmations, whether that's literally just repeating back a negative statement in a positive light, like whatever it is, I think if you can start to control the words that you say to yourself, you will be more open to the positivity that you so desire in your life.
I mean, really, what you focus on expands.
I've heard it somewhere.
You've heard it in a few places.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Hudson. Thanks for listening today, friends. If you enjoyed this call, do not forget to join Queer and Successful, the community on Facebook, as well as register to participate in these calls live every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern at successfulcall.com. See you next time. Bye.